Hey Halo fans. There's been a lot of things going around online regarding our favorite franchise and a general discussion about Halo's future. People are concerned that the franchise could completely die out in the coming years, while others are excited to see what's next. I really want to see the series grow and become more accepted by general audiences, while also having a game catered to the other side of the population who has been here in the community since Combat evolved. Today, I'll hit on some topics that I think are vital discussion points that the Halo community should talk more about and share around. I want this to be a big discussion, so please feel free to engage in the comments because I think every opinion should be heard. Let me preface all of these ideas by saying that I don't want anyone thinking that any of these ideas are solely mine, and they're also not objectively correct. I think the ambiguity that comes with the ideas I'm sharing should lead to discussion, not arguments. Take everything with a grain of salt, think of what you would like with the franchise, and let this video be a sort of whiteboard for you to voice out what you want to see from Halo. I want to start this conversation off. Sprint is not going to destroy Halo, in my own opinion. Now hold back your pitchforks and torches. I mean no harm with this statement. We all love the original trilogy of Halo. It's probably the greatest gaming trilogy ever made from my own perspective. I can't really think of any others that would dethrone it from the games I've played through my life. We love the way the game feels. We enjoy the clunkiness of it. We like the gunplay, and it all just works great. I'm not sure what the root cause of the issue is with sprinting for some people, but as a mechanic, I don't think it's harmful. For context, we had sprinting in Halo 4, which was most people's idea of the beginning of the end for Halo. Halo 5 carried on with sprint and also added a ton of other movement mechanics that made the game much more mobile. Then even Halo Infinite held on to sprinting, sliding, and equipment for different movement types. The old games were just jump, crouch, walk, which at the time was all we needed and today is all we need. I think a lot of longtime players tend to forget though that Halo Reach also had sprint, and it was implemented well. In lore, the Spartans who are able to sprint are Spartan 3s and up. I think it's got something to do with their armor and how mobility became more of a focal point in their design. Think of Spartan 2s, aka Master Chief and George, as literal human tanks, and Spartan 3s and beyond are Spec Ops units. They needed to be quick, stealthy, and most of their in-lore missions were assassinations or other objectives that you'd see special operations units carry out. I also recognize that we have seen Master Chief sprint on a few occasions. For example, Halo CE ends with Master Chief sprinting from the Flood during the final cutscene in order to board the longsword as the Pillar of Autumn is erupting. In Halo 2, we see the Chief sprint at the end of the mission Regret after killing the Prophet and attempts to escape the glassing right behind him. But Dr. Watson, those are campaign cutscenes. They don't affect gameplay. I know, and that's why this topic is tricky. I recognize that as years pass by, businesses continue to move without us. I'm 23 currently, but most diehard Halo fans are older than me. We, as a community, are slowly phasing out of being the target market. I don't want that to be a cop-out for this situation, but in reality, the business in charge of Halo is going to prioritize whatever will give the series better longevity. If we're all 65 years old still playing Halo, and none of the new generation is hopping on to play, then the company will produce poor results. I'm not asking fans to give up and be at the mercy of Halo Studios, but I think we can accept these changes to continue enjoying something. Going back to Reach, I haven't personally spoken with anyone who was upset about the sprint in that title. It was a part of the gameplay that most people were pretty cool with. I understand and empathize with people who still don't agree with sprint being in the game, but in the same breath, we have to recognize that the business will continue to move with or without us. The good news is that in the new Halo Combat Evolved remake, they have confirmed that sprinting will be able to be disabled if you prefer not to use it. I think this is a good place to start, with Halo Studios catering to both audiences of the franchise. Keep in mind, this is still just my view and opinion, so you can choose to disagree in the comments, just remain respectful of others. If If you want to help shape these takes in the future and discuss them before I release videos, jump into my new Discord. The link is in the description, so come in to hang out, chat, game, and meet some folks. In a recent video by The Act Man, in collaboration with Faven, Hidden Xperia, and B. Dobbins, link in the description, Faven brought up an idea that really stood out to me. He stated that Halo could implement the old Call of Duty model where there's multiple series running at the same time, like how COD had Black Ops and Modern Warfare being made in tandem while still producing cool, story-rich, and fun games. Obviously, we're talking about the old Call of Duty and not that new garbage that no one plays, but at one time, there was a formula that was so successful that literally everyone was buying the games. Now, I'm not saying Halo Studios needs to pump out a game per year, but they can spread their wings a bit. Maybe expanding the ODST lore and making another game from that foundation would be beneficial. Then in the following years, they release a follow-up or sequel to Infinite. They keep the main story moving and adjust with the audience while also having something fresh and new on the side to appease other audiences. On top of making this sort of bilateral model of development, they could expand the Halo universe further by making new games in different genres outside of FPS, like they did with Halo Wars. A Souls-like Halo game, a horror game about the Flood, a grand strategy like Warhammer but with Halo content. All of these ideas are ripe for the picking, but they'll never enact upon it because executives are scared to take that risk. Could you imagine a Halo game that resembled Star Wars Battlefront 2 with special units, massive battle scenarios, and vehicle combat? Things could be so unique, and I'd pay good money to try something new and fresh to the franchise. Of course, there's a higher margin of error when trying new things, but we have to recognize as a community that IPs are getting stale in modern times and diluted for whatever the golden goose was. If we don't allow the companies to try new things, we're going to get bored of it and never be able to experience new games, just remake after remake forever. Halo's formula is undefined, but extremely well known. It's hard to pin down exactly what makes the games so good because it varies per player. Based on my previous video, I love the series because of the music and the story. My buddies might say that the key to the formula was the multiplayer and Forge modes. Others will say it was lightning in a bottle. I think that every facet of Halo was and is good, except you. You were not my type of game. I think there's clearly something to do with everything that goes into each game that improved upon the last to make the next one better. Gunplay evolves, the story grows, and things change over time to make the series feel better and more complete. To break it down, we need to look from the beginning and see what changed over time that led to where we are now. Halo CE was great because it was a new game and generational for the era, so there's not much to say other than that. Some reasons for why it was so amazing for the time was an incredible story, a new physics engine that was entirely unique to the game. It was fantastic for party games and LAN events for casual players, and it really was gorgeous for that time. Halo 2 carried on a story that was initially kind of blurry and breathed new life into it. Marty O'Donnell produced a ridiculous soundtrack that shaped the environments and carried themes through the campaign, and then the multiplayer made absolutely revolutionary impact on online gaming forever. Halo 2 also started experimenting with new vehicles, weapons, and game modes to play. Halo 3 was seen as the finale in the Bungie story with a fantastic ending, air quotes on ending, incredible music once again, a polished game engine with a new art direction, and yet another show-stopping multiplayer scene with the additions of Forge and Theater mode, which led to a massive growth in the overall Halo community's identity. Skipping a bunch of titles here, let's just jump to Halo Infinite and compare it to the big three of the series. Infinite did not make revolutionary changes with much, but it did have its own engine crafted specifically for the development cycle. There was a 10-year plan in place to have the game act as a foundation of growth for several years to come, which eventually failed after community backlash. Forge was not available on launch, theater mode was a disaster, there was no co-op campaign, and even when they did add it, couch co-op wasn't an option unless you modded your game with some plugin developed by a third-party fan of Halo. The gunplay and maps actually felt good and in line with the series, just refreshed, but a lot of people don't have a reason to come back to the game because Infinite failed to update the game with meaningful content. I specifically say meaningful because even back in Halo 3, there were a number of ways to enjoy the game and showcase your skill or devotion at day one. In Infinite, they focused too much on live service and failed to meet deliverables on time. These failures I mentioned all were integral parts of a whole puzzle for what made Halo so good and how it can be repeated. Clearly, I'm missing a ton of points, and I'd love to hear what you guys think made it so successful down below. The last thing I wanted to mention is the new direction of the gaming industry as a whole. Tons of games are switching to competitive formats because those styles of games have increased player retention and help people like me with an ADHD brain focus on something for more than 2 seconds at a time. Esports has been something I've done in the past where in college I attended Northwood University, one of the most renowned esports schools in the nation, and played Overwatch 2 for 3 years. I've always been hyper competitive in games and had this urge to be the best at things I play, but I never did this when I was growing up. The core of Halo's identity was its casual multiplayer experience. I persuaded my sisters to play Halo 2 with me while we were young, and even they enjoyed it. Today, if I were to make them play against me in Halo Infinite, they would hate every second because the game isn't geared to them being new players anymore. Now, from my perspective, esports is a healthy thing for games and generates a community of people to support teams and players who truly are the best of the best. But it can't just be a pivotal design point in a game's development. Halo 2 was not made to have an esports scene, but it did simply because the game was fun, and you could easily make tournaments and LAN events that everyone wanted to see. You can't force esports into a series that always had it naturally. Companies like Faceit and Collegiate Leagues will see the demand and start building systems to let people compete on their own outside of Halo Studios' control. Sure, if Halo Studios or Microsoft want to cut of the money that Faceit is making since it's their game, I think that's fair, but the game just has to naturally invite that kind of hype. It can't be produced. That's why MLG even existed back in the day, when Mountain Dew and Doritos was the greatest combo since bread and wine. I feel like there's more topics I want to discuss, but I didn't know how to best word them, and I didn't want to make this video a list of solutions for the series. I just wanted to share some points that I think would be beneficial, grounded, or just cool for the Halo franchise and fans to pursue. Like I said at the start, this is all opinion, and I'd really love to hear your take on the subjects because we can't help the studio know exactly what we want until we're all able to meet a common consensus of our ideas. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. That's going to be another place for discussion to be open if you want things to be more direct than a YouTube comment section. Also, I want to say thank you all so much because as of recording this video, we just breached 300 subscribers. Thank you all a ton for the recent support as I grow and learn more about discussions, video essays, and content. You're all genuinely the best. Thanks for tuning in.